and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Loki Season 2 reviews. I'm the author, Tress Snail. This is episode Season 4, and I'm joined by the one...
Season 4!
Episode Season 4. Interesting. This guy's getting warmed up here.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this Loki Season 2, Episode 4 review. I'm the author, Tress Snail. Look, I just, time TBA'd it, you know?
Yeah,
and I'm joined
glitch.
by... Yep.
I am the chicken and the egg, Dylan Muss.
There you go.
I am the TVA. TBA. It's... fuck, I fucked that up. Oh.
Okay, and we're joined by...
TVA? No, TBD, Taylor Field. There we go.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Dylan's the only one that
Nice.
successfully pulled that off. He's the he who remains. The rest of us are just a bunch of variants just getting pruned out here. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is we're over halfway through the season. Next week is the penultimate man. What do we got? A penultimate episode and one episode we have to talk about today. So we're gonna get right into it. Just a quick reminder: November 4th. It's in my name. Do you like dodgeball? Do you like video games tournaments? Like video games? You like poker? You like trivia? You like charades? Dirty charades? You like movie premieres and trailers? We got it all. That's actually a night when you throw it all together. That's a stacked 24 hours
Pretty
of
wild.
stuff. Yeah, so we're gonna have a good time. It's us. It's our significant others. Lots of people. Saris is gonna be there. Kyle Smith returned the GeekVerse. I think I'd have to look. I think it's like 3 years since he's been done anything with us and stuff. So it's
Spider-Man
gonna-
was probably the last thing, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
No
No
Way
Way Home. Yeah, which was what, 2021. So yeah, about over just under 2 years. So it's been a minute. It's gonna be a good time. And talking about minutes, we're gonna be spending. Not minutes, hours, 24 hours trying to raise $2,500 towards BC Children's Hospital. All the links are down below. Donations are tax deductible. Go down below. Also get the shirt if you want. If you go, hey, I'd rather get a shirt and support that way, you can. All the proceeds also go to Extra Life. You get this year the exclusive themed Barbie shirt. It's gone November 6th. After November 6th, it does no longer exist. Like the Lord of the Rings one, it is a one-time, not a one-time, I guess a 1 month available purchase. So do that. We'd really appreciate it. Come join us game day. You can check on Twitter. I just announced all the participants of the trivia battle. That's gonna be lots of fun. I just had someone else confirm. So still working on that. So lots of good stuff. Mr. Muss, what did you think? Obviously non-spoilers episode 4, because this was a doozy, I'd say.
This is a very hard one to talk about in a non-spoilers way, so I'll keep it pretty brief. I'm not a fan of this episode.
Oh no.
And I really don't know what I can say without spoiling stuff. So I honestly feel like I'm going to keep it there. I was not a fan of the choice with this episode. And, part of that too is that I don't think this is spoilery to say it. There's a massive cliffhanger at the end of this too. So I don't know. Maybe I will come back to this and my thoughts will be brighter and warmer next week when I've had more time and see what's happening next. But I feel like I clued into kind of what the purpose of this episode was, and I'm not a fan of that choice. I'll say, especially with a 6-episode season, I just don't think we have time for things like that. That's as non-spoiler as I can. I'll leave it there before I say too much.
Okay, I'm very curious where to go. It's interesting. You've been back and forth with the episodes. And
Roller
whatnot,
coaster
so-
ride for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm on the opposite. I don't know. Like, I'm definitely on the opposite side of the spectrum. I don't know if it's like because I think you just don't like stuff. So you don't hate it or anything, right?
I
Or
don't
is
think I
it-
can declare decisively say until I see what next week is.
That's fair.
honestly.
No, that's fair.
That'll really flip the coin on this one.
No, and I think I'm with Dylan where that's where I love that we're doing this in episode 4. I love that we have 2 episodes left, so it is very unpredictable. I feel like it's kind of similar to last week where we talked about, hey, this could be a finale. You could leave it off and be like, hey, we'll be back next year. So I think it's all about follow up. But the episode overall, I enjoyed. I think there's just some. Multiple, I'd say at least on 3 things I was not expecting. I was not expecting the cliffhanger. I was not expecting a few other things with our characters, maybe throughout the season, but not to happen right at this moment, that's always interesting to have and fascinating. I think there's a couple really good scenes here, minor spoilers, but one scene between Sylvie and Loki, and then one scene between Sylvie and Mobius I thought were very well done. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I do agree though that next week could be change it, but I would say it's barring next week, I'd say it's probably my favorite episode this season, and we'll probably have this conversation when the show is over, and that's where I was just thinking about today, where I was like, I'm really enjoying the show, but I haven't had the heights of season 1. I think this is that, where it's like, wow, they're really going to these certain places and certain things and doing these things. It's exciting to possibly be going down this route. I'm trying to say non-spoiler way. So I did enjoy it quite a bit. Taylor Field.
Holy shit, this episode blew my socks off and everything. Like I was totally invested in here. There were curveballs coming out left, right, and center. The back half just really caught me off guard when they would just be doing something and the pace was quickening. And I was thinking, holy shit, like we're going. Is this not the finale? Is this not like the second to last penultimate? Like it feels like it with how climactic things are escalating. So yeah, I couldn't believe what was going on, and I'm totally there for all the dialogue and certain character development moments that we got between certain key characters that have not really had much engagement before, and so they were addressing things that I like seeing get addressed and talking about things. So all in all, this episode was just fantastic. It's my favorite, like of this season for sure. Favorite of this season so far. It's just I'm totally jiving with it, and yeah, just that back half of this episode just blew my mind. I'm so ecstatic for next week. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So, we're going to stop jumping around and bouncing around it. We're going to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, come back later and tune in. And we'll be right back. I forgot what I was going to say. And we're back. So let's start at the end, because I know usually we build up to and stuff, but I feel like that's a big contention point for just the series, the episode. So Dylan, I want to hear from your perspective. Why is this something that you could think could be going a negative route? Like, why could it maybe detour us through getting a singular, really great season here?
So what I feel like is going to be happening here is, as you guys mentioned, there's so many wild choices here, but I don't think they're going to commit to any of it, right? Like, I think the end of this episode is just going to like kick us back in time. We're going to reset it, and somehow, I don't know what characters are going to have what kind of information in terms of like the people who are still alive at the end of this. Like, are they going to have this information, then they can convey that? I'm not sure how that's all going to work out, but I just don't feel like anything here is going to be committed to in this way. I feel like there's no way that's the end of Ravonna. There's no way that's the end of Miss Minutes. There's no way Timely. I don't know. Maybe I don't think that would be the end of Timely. And the other characters in the cell, I also just feel like, why would they have that scene of, I always forget her name, but the other guard lady who went in there to talk to them and be like, hey, I want to recruit you to fight against them. I don't see the purpose of that scene without those people all coming back and actually fighting with them at the end in the finale episode. So that's where I'm at. If that doesn't happen and they did make all these bold choices, I think my criticisms will just be different. It'll be that, wow, Ravonna, that was her death. Seriously, that's all you can do. Miss Minutes, I think I had like a cool little moment, but I just feel like for a lot of them it was kind of anticlimactic, and I just don't feel like any of it is gonna stick. So that's where I'm coming at it.
We'll get that portal scene and everyone will come through at the end.
Yeah, just play Portal song. Dun 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 dun. Yeah.
X-Files.
Well, technically, the main characters, they could be the one that's died, but Renslayer, she just got pruned, right? So there's like a way where she could go back to that place, get back to He Who Remains Castle, and figure out a way to get back. Now, she doesn't miss minutes this time, so maybe that won't happen, but she didn't die like the rest of them at least, so maybe that's their out as far as like, well, she can get out of the pruning area, but I don't think so. I think you're right and now I just thought about this as you were talking. It's because you were talking, so it popped in my mind, where I wonder if that's, I don't know, like you said, what information they would have, but is that why they're tying the Loki pruning that old Loki so he can go back and kind of redo things? But he didn't get anything, like he didn't see anything that this Loki didn't, right? Like if we're talking about Loki, our Loki, and then the pruned Loki, that he just would be the same guy. I would imagine he would do the same choices, right?
It's like it's Back to the Future 2 when like that. Why am I forgetting his name?
Marty McFly?
That Marty McFly. Yeah, thank you. That Marty McFly is on stage. He's doing his thing, and then the other Marty McFly, who's like from the future, has come back here and sees that the goons are gonna drop like take him out before that Marty McFly can get over here. So like he's oblivious to the other version of himself, and he still gets to that same point, right? So
I know that's my point, though. That's my point, that they didn't give us like this Loki. It's like, oh, before I prune him, I'm gonna tell him something, and that's where I'd say, like, oh, that's your in where this guy's gonna get pruned. We'll pick up next episode of him waking up and being like, yeah, this some information was given to me, and we got to do things differently. And I don't think there's nothing that they showed. It was the same scene, right?
It's
you see
true,
Sylvie.
but like, I don't know, like what good it really would have done. It wouldn't have helped this Loki because time isn't a factor at the TVA, right? So like things
death
wouldn't have
is.
changed. It would have created maybe, for all we know, another timeline that's already encompassing all these other timelines going through the weave or the whatever the loom.
I'm just saying though, if our Loki knew ahead of time that, hey, this thing that Obi's gonna do isn't gonna work, you don't think he would give that knowledge to the Loki he prunes? And that's why I say, like, that's where I don't know what they're gonna.
It depends, because if you're looking at it like what we saw before, where Loki was going to the past and then giving information that was appearing in the future, in the present day, that works. But in this sense, this Loki is the Loki of the future. We haven't seen what's ahead of this or anything, so there's not really much that would benefit this Loki in the future. Like, is this
I know,
Loki
but
gonna?
I understand all that. I'm saying that's where I'm trying to figure out how, because I imagine what they're going to do is, and I agree with Dylan, it depends how far they go. If it is just we wake up and it's a new Loki, if we go back and let's say it's the Loki that's pruned, right? Let's say these characters that we saw at the end of this episode, everything's coming at them, they're dead. And we pick up next week with the pruned Loki and we're kind of starting a loop all over. I wouldn't see why he would make any different choices. Like, how would he get there? Because no one gave him new information. And I know Loki from the future didn't see that, but I'm just saying that I thought that could be the changing of the loop then, but there's not. You would realistically just think that this Loki should keep doing this over and over, right? He gets pruned, he gets everybody together, he sees himself, prunes himself, dies, and then the circle goes again. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. If none of this matters, what is the out? What is the way? And I thought, oh, that would have been the way. You give pruned information or pruned Loki information, then he changes the course. But he didn't get anything. It was the same thing. He sees Sylvie, phone rings, gets pruned. So I really don't know, unless they could do a fake out like they kind of did this last year or 2 years ago, whenever. Remember when Loki got pruned and we didn't think he was dead, but we thought he could be dead, but that's when they revealed pruning didn't kill you. It just kicks you off to like a different universe. And that's like the only thing I could think, that maybe these people aren't dead. Maybe there's something, and I think it'd be kind of fun. What if they kind of get like sucked into different universes against their will and they're kind of stuck there, right? Like, let's say, for example, the end credit is Sylvie wakes up and she's wherever Deadpool 3 is going to be, right? Like, we don't know. Victor Timely looks pretty dead. I'll say that. I don't think he made it. But, like, I don't know. Maybe they're doing that again where we're assuming this explosion is going to kill them all, but maybe it does something different to them. Because I still could believe, the way they've said it, I could believe Timely's dead because there's so many variants, and Renslayer's not dead. She went somewhere else. So with our main characters, I think that's a chance that we didn't see them die. So I think there's still a chance that these could have consequences, and we're just going to play with the new pieces now. That's what I think could happen. But I think Dylan's right that we could just reset all, and then I just don't know where we go from there, because everyone's back.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what that choice is eventually with those characters next week. Yeah, I do feel like this is a pretty inconclusive episode, honestly. Like, if this was a finale and this is the cliffhanger we had for the next season, I would be very unhappy. It doesn't give me enough information.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we're like. So they were going to do the experiment. Timely says he wants to do it. He walks out. They said the radiation or something was too much. So I guess I didn't get your point of view. So like, and I guess I didn't get the clearance. Like, Dylan, where do you think? So you think officially this will be reset? Like, none of this will matter, and somehow it'll be reset next week, right?
I think so, because once again, I don't like the people who got killed in that square thing closing in. Like, once again, I don't know why you would bother. I don't know why you bother with any of that unless those characters are going to come back in some way.
I can agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I guess I kind of forgot about some of these pruning rules, and so Ravonna goes somewhere else. I don't know what that means. I assume she still has a temp pad on her, so she can just go.
Yeah, that's
wherever?
the thought, that like her and Miss Minutes, that's how they got out. Because technically, where He Who Remains is where they get pruned. That's where his castle is. So she's just kind of back to where she started. So I don't think she's dead. Like, she wouldn't be dead. She's just like, it's kind of like you kick them to a different level per se. So she's still kicking around. She's just not at the TVA right now. So, and she probably can't get there if it does explode, because that's not great.
I guess just for me, like with the way the fanfare went for all these scenes, I just feel like that, a lot of it's going to be undone. But then there are certain things like that scene you mentioned between Sylvie and Mobius, where once again, I feel like we've hit that point before, but now it's another character talking about this idea. And we're really reinforcing this idea that, like, there's no way we're not going to go, like, Mobius isn't going to go see, where he actually is in the timeline, the jet ski, dream, whatever is going on there. So I feel like that kind of character moment, that dialogue, there's some way that has to stay with him as a character, I would
Yeah.
imagine. But then there's other things that don't really matter if they get undone, and that's, I guess, where I was feeling 50-50 on things where yeah, it just didn't seem to have as much meaning as it normally could.
And that's why for me, I'll say I'm 60-40 on it getting reset. I think that there's a higher chance it could get reset, but like I said, there's still an avenue that they could do, and who knows, maybe they do some tomfoolery like that. The thing they're in is protected. I don't know. Like, just because they did, if they would have showed them kind of get wiped, then I'd go, okay, they're kind of trying to tell us they're dead, right? But it does the cut to black thing where it's like, okay, they're leaving it up for room. So that's where I'm 64. I think it could get reset, but I think there's enough evidence between Renslayer, Timely, and the characters that they didn't get showed killed that this could stay. Because I'm with you where I don't want to lose that conversation with Sylvie and Mobius, and even the conversation with Loki and Sylvie the few times they've had. Like, I don't want to lose that or have like a redo of that. So I think there is a chance that these characters, something will happen to them, and it's still our core. Our versions of the characters sticking around.
Because I guess only we have a Ravonna who got
pruned.
I keep forgetting that word for some reason.
Pruned.
And then Loki obviously pruned him, like episode 1 Loki. So once again, to your point, like that could be the one who carries it forward. But then how does that work? I guess he would have to do something different because everyone else is dead at the TVA. But yeah, I just don't think I don't know, that explosion at the end. It's not pruning them, but it's got to do something similar or just, straight up reset of the timeline somehow. Because, there's no way they're just killing off all those characters.
What if it's my suggestion that they get thrown in random timelines and they're just kind of stuck, like maybe they get thrown
I guess that would kind of make sense if that's what's happening with the Loom, where all these timelines are spilling out. It would make sense that they all get stabbed by a different one, and that's the timeline they go to.
Because we know it's still sticking around. This isn't the end. Deadpool 3 is a multiverse movie, right? So we know it's not like, even at the end of the season, they won't fix it. So
well, even like
that's
the existence of Secret Wars would mean that
right?
there has to be multiple timelines.
And what if just stuff like this is why we're getting that 20th century logo where Wolverine, Deadpool, like this could be the way to explode universes and mix and match them, right? Like how we might get Channing Tatum's Gambit. That's what I'm trying to think now. That I think they might do a very Snap thing where, oh look, all our characters ended up in the same universe together, the same way like the entire Spider-Man cast, like MJ, Ned, Aunt May, like they all of course got snapped. So when they brought them back, nothing changed. So I could see that too, where they're all in the same room and they got transported to the 838 or whatever. So maybe that happens.
What's your leading theory, Taylor?
On what's gonna be the unfolding with that explosion? I mean, it's. I can prescribe to the theory that maybe we do reset to a certain point because you make some good points with everyone that was just being knocked off and just how everything was expediting and going crazy. I do feel like that they could reset. I don't know about the Minutemen and that General Voss, I think was her name, or Boss or whatever her name was.
Whoever they are, the boxed people.
Yeah, oh man, that was just brutal. And like some of these scenes were just so full of intensity and the tension, and just with that score kicked in, and Miss Minutes was smiling as it was closing. I was like, "Fuck, this is so
her smirk,
crazy." Yeah, god damn. So stuff like that, and just X5 is his name.
X5,
X5. Really, really liked X5 in this episode. Every time he just pops in, I'm really enjoying his character, and so him just like closing his eyes and squinting, not wanting to see what was going on, and I obviously later on we see him with Sylvie taking control of him, and the way he just saunters into the room like made me laugh. But anyways, I'm digressing. Back to what I think is going to happen. I prescribe to the theory that we could reset somehow, and with Loki saying to Sylvie, it'll all make sense in the future. It all makes sense at some point. Maybe there is something that we missed. Maybe, like you were alluding to, Travis, we didn't get to see it, but maybe there is something that we missed.
I mean, there is still the phone call happening, right? And that's got to be something.
That was Obi calling, like, there you are. Why didn't you pick up the phone or whatever?
Yeah, it was a big fake out. Yeah, which I was like, oh, okay. And I will say that's why I'm hoping there could be more to it, because like the moment I thought, okay, we had talked about before where people had clipped it like, oh, it looks like it could be Loki's suit. That's a very classic trait. I still thought the moment was going to be bigger when he pruned himself. Like I thought, oh man, it's going to be a really pivotal moment. But it really was just like, Loki bumps into Loki, right? And that's where I thought, okay, maybe there's something missing here. And again, maybe they still will do that, but then I feel like that's kind of tricky in the audience because they showed us the scene, right? That happens. He talks to Sylvie, he gets a call from Obi, and they're off. If they just like splice in, oh, well, he did whisper something or slip him a note, it's like, well, that's kind of cheating because we didn't see that. I know you can do anything. It's movies are unreliable narrators, but it's just like, it's kind of a cheap pop. But
he sold me in that scene when he pruned him and he's just like Sylvie's like, what the hell's going on? But like Tom's she's like, he's trembling like, oh god damn. I fucking love Loki so much in this. Just holy shit.
Tom Hiddleston's, he's great. I love him there. I know my daughter's gonna like grow up to watch horror movies like me because the box thing happened, and then you got is it B-15 or Hunter 15, right? That's her name.
Can't remember.
Yeah, whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The guard that's with Loki and everything. And she has that shot where she walks in, she's just horrified, and Gwen's like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's the people that got squished," because she's been watching all these episodes. She's like, "Oh, are they gonna show it?" I'm like, "Oh, no, they're not gonna show that." "Oh, I want to see the people squished." Like, "Oh, it's gonna be gross. Like, there'll be a bunch of blood and guts."
I'm with her on that.
Yeah. She's like, "No, I want to see it." So I was like, "Okay, well, you're gonna be watching some movies when you're older." But I get it. I think I wish they could have showed something in a way, like the good thing with that box, and it has like that like filter on it. I feel like there's a way they could have got away with showing some blood at least, and then
I don't know. Like,
Quick
I think
cut.
no matter what, anything coming out of that, it's not pretty.
But like, think about what's his name, the High Evolutionary's face. Like that was pretty disturbing in Guardians. It literally was just like a skull, and it was
No,
like
that's nothing compared to the box.
yeah, but that's, I mean, like I'm saying you could use the filter to kind of hide some stuff, right? But I get it. It's Disney Plus, so. Yeah.
I mean, would it have looked good anyway with the? I mean, the VFX
gotta
have been
save
good in
that
this
budget.
show, but yeah,
Well,
that would be a costly shot. That's for sure. It's easier to show some guy's face as he's reacting to it.
Mm-hmm. And Taylor, so you think it's more like get a reset, and does that affect you at all? Like, does that affect you if we go to next week and this entire episode 4? Like, none of it doesn't really matter that much because it's just like, okay, it's another timeline that we saw, and then we're starting over.
I think it would definitely bother people, and I would be inclined to
Would it
say
bother
I'm
you?
bothered.
Are you one of those people?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I'm a percentage in there. Just to know that we do lose all of this stuff that I've really liked seeing with Loki develop, because the past few episodes since that event of him being pruned in episode 1 or 2, I guess, I've really loved everything he's going through and everything he's learning that should make him who he is. Now, if he was able to reclaim or hold on to that growth and those memories to a degree, it's sort of like how it's like a cheat, but like in season 1 when they flash forward his whole life of that one timeline, he was able to absorb it and just take it in and be like, holy shit. So that would work for me. But if he's just going back, then it is very much like, well, what's the point of the last 3 episodes? This should have been something that was done like episode 2. And just kind of like expedite that and then get into like the nitty gritty. To be honest, if I had my way, I would want I want something to happen. I'd want like the Big Bang to like stop, and like one of the Kangs in that Kang army, like just to finally unravel and like just like go like stop, like do something, like stop it and try to, I don't know, take the TVA or do something. I don't know, but I want more like these all-powerful Kangs to do something in the wake of this explosion happening, and not necessarily save them because they're a good guy, but stop this explosion from destroying all the timelines that they want to control, and it all alternatively saves Loki and co. But that's what I would like. I don't want to see them die out.
I don't know if this explosion though either way would be ending timelines, right? It's like those are the timelines that are spinning out and flipping out.
It's just ending the
right?
TVA, right? I think that's.
I think it's more just like
right?
any sort of way to keep track of them or have control over the timelines. I feel like that's the thing that is lost in this explosion.
So
rather
again,
than
it could
the
be a point
timelines
to them not
themselves.
dying, just getting absorbed, right? And then we're good to go. That they keep all these memories and they're just hanging out in some random universe or something. They're time splitting between different universes. Because now Taylor's saying some of those things like, why wouldn't they done this earlier? I think I'm back to a 50% now because I really can't decide, because it's true. Because that is a bold thing to say, hey, those 3 episodes, I know people are like, oh, well, of course it matters to got to this point. But it's like, yeah, you're losing character interactions, right? It's kind of like what we talk about with like scroll roadie of like, well, if you do that. So I think I'm actually at a 51 for thinking these people didn't die except for Timely. I think Timely's gone. I think he's out.
Yeah, I
of
wanted to
there.
ask Taylor about that. What do you think on Timely? Do you think because he got kind of shredded up like Mantis in
I
Infinity
laughed
War?
out loud when that
Yeah,
happened.
or Reed
Holy
Richards in
shit.
Multiverse
Oh
of
yeah, a lot of
Madness. He
people
got
getting
spaghettified.
spaghettified these days.
Like I was really liking Timely. I was really liking him as a character. And like time to be brave, time to be brave. And he just got fucking annihilated. Oh,
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting
No.
that to happen just to him walk out because it's just this great moment. Loki's going, then no, I want to do it, and it's like, and he's booking it too because they said he has to move with haste, but like literally, it's like 1, 2, and then on the third step, just gone. I did not see that coming at all, and I got some comedic point, but it was
Like,
fun watching that with
I-
Gwen too.
It definitely sucks because I like this version of Kang, and for him to get axed it sucks. It really does sting. But I think all of that was quenched to the side because of just how it subverted my expectations, and so I actually like that in a weird way, if that makes sense. So if that all gets erased and I do get Victor Timely back, then I'm happy with that. But then it's also a negative because then he doesn't get to go through everything that we got to see him go through with Renslayer
Yeah.
and Miss Minutes and like joining up with the TVA and like teaming up with Obi and some really cool moments like him obsessed with this hot chocolate and like satisfied he's giving it to this guy, and I loved all that. That was really cool, and just to snap it's gone.
I mean, it still happened, you know. I loved the interactions between Timely and Obi. I thought those two were so fun together. The kind of chicken and the egg scenario with those two is very fun.
I talked about last week, remember? And snake
Yeah.
eating its tail, you know.
Exactly, yeah, they bring that up again. So
Yeah.
I love their interactions. We didn't get too many of them, but we got a little bit in there, and that lived up to the hype that I was looking forward to between those two.
Yeah.
Meeting and kind of fangirling over each other was a lot of fun.
I like when they want each other to sign each other's manuals, and so he's like, "We got no time for this. Like, let's just get
Yeah.
on it, do it later and stuff." But yeah, good on time. The only thing I'll bring up about Timely again with this whole thing of are these stakes gonna stay, etc. They did cut away when I like the scene where he gets captured by X5 and then they sit him down. He's like, "Oh, ladies, it's so great to see you." Like he's being jovial with Miss Minutes and Renslayer. I did like when you talk about what's her name, Miss Minutes being scary. I think the most scary part was when she's like, "Oh, I gotta tell you something," and then she clicked back in. She's like, "You'll never be him," and then went back to like her
Fuck.
first form. I was like, "Oh man, that sucks bad." But he did say that he was gonna. I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing, but it said you would like this, or there's something you don't know you'd like, and it cut away, and we didn't get to see what he was telling them. So it's like kind of what they did last week, which we'll get into the whole like, oh, there's a secret. He did tell Renslayer and Miss Minutes something that we didn't get to see as the viewers, and that's why for me, I still wonder if Timely could be antagonistic. You know, like that. Like he would know somehow that he was gonna get. Like same thing. What if him going out there doesn't mean he's dead? What if that just means he's getting ripped apart to go in another universe, right, or somewhere, or he wants to go somewhere? So they did do some trickery where he said, "Oh, you're." Like I said, I should have looked it up. Like, "Oh, wait until you hear this," and then they cut. So what did he tell them that we're not privy to, right?
That's a good point. That he, one, made modifications to the, I guess the device that they were going to take into Loom, which is the thing that he was holding.
Which looks
and
like his
he-
chair. Did you see that for Ant-Man Quantumania? That his chair he sits in, it's a ball like that and it opens up.
Right. That's
So
cool.
again,
I like
some
that a lot.
tomfoolery maybe.
But then also, yeah, it's he was very adamant about being the one to go in
Yes.
there after Loki had kind of had that change of heart. So I think that's a good point that maybe he had calibrated that device in some way. I don't know. I don't know how much time there was to do something crazy like that, but he is so smart that I feel like we could, as the viewer, understand it and it would be believable. So yeah, that could be the case. It would look kind of grisly the way he went out, but I guess
Yeah.
same thing happened with Loki when he was getting time slipping going on in episode 1. That looked pretty savage too, but he ended up being okay. So yeah, I guess there is a potential for that, and I'm with you, Taylor, that I think Timely is a lot of fun, especially seeing more of him here and other character interactions like Obi that I mentioned. So I hope we get more of him. I guess either way, whether we go back in time and he's still here, or just going ahead and he did end up in another universe somehow, that would work too.
And you did say not much time, but we also don't know if he has some like big evil plan there could be time that like they could do a flashback or show stuff that in between or somewhere else he was doing stuff getting ready for this, right? Because he's appearing as this like, oh, I'm just a scientist guy, but he could easily be some Kang that like went back, took over his body, and so, like that's what I mean. We don't
I
know.
don't know if I want
right?
that to be this.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's a perfect pitch, but I'm saying they could show us something to go, okay, he has more time on his hands than we were led to believe here.
There's definitely intention behind that Miss Minutes line, which is obviously a big dig, like it's just stabbed through the heart, and then seeing the golden face like right behind that, which it could have awakened something in him. So I don't know how much time did he have between that moment and going back and calibrating, coming up with this plan, but maybe he had already figured it out in that time. So I don't know.
Or did he do something like Loki, where is there a chance where he was not so much time splitting like accidentally, but the way Loki could go back talk to Obi, and then Obi gets all this information? Is there a way he could do that with himself?
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
saying we could be in store for Victor Timely pulling off some very big time heist hijinks, like very Inception stuff. Yeah. So again, I'm warming more up to that. Maybe all these people are going to be around next week, but watch next week. We'll just we'll go back to Loki season 1 and start over. Like, oh, man.
So I think you guys make some really, really good points actually in that perspective. And I was really getting kind of sidelined because he seemed very odd after he did his little device tinkering, gave it to Obi, and then he immediately became focused on the hot chocolate machine and wanted to get out of there. And I thought that's kind of a weird derailment. Like, you did something and now you wanted to just get away from the situation. But obviously things that happened there with X5 and Renslayer, that was unprecedented or unexpected, I guess. And he genuinely wanted to see the hot chocolate machine. Now, after that, what you guys were talking about, him kind of maybe getting into outside in the time loop or whatever, and then just kind of maybe knew something, talked to someone, did something. Yeah, he wanted to be there. The fact that he shut Loki down and he wanted to go out there and be the one, it does seem too good to be true. It does seem suspicious, and I would actually really like to see him go into another timeline or do something. I think that would be really, really unique to see, because he's definitely not as weak as they want you to make you think that he is. And I even feel like they insinuate that with Sylvie saying like, oh, he was scared, but maybe he wasn't scared, or because I just read the situation wrong. I'm pretty sure she was referring to this Kang, or was she referring to He Who Remains Kang? She was trying to isolate how the one wasn't afraid to die and this one was.
He Who Remains wasn't, and she's saying this guy was, and that's why she thought about it.
That's why she thought about it, not killing him. And so that's why I feel like it's just to, again, subvert expectations maybe, and they just take that and use it as like, hey, you're not going to expect this Kang to be the one to kind of pull it together and become like the Kang of Kangs, so to speak. So
yeah, there's definitely something there of, I don't know, was the hot chocolate thing just a funny gag, or was that really like this whole crazy setup now we're talking about, where maybe a future version of himself went and planted information in him of, here's a way to like get out of this room so that he can get into the other room with Renslayer and Miss Minutes and share the information that you were mentioning, Travis. And I don't know.
Right.
There's something about that, because once again, when he was in that room, even Renslayer was like, come on, you're stalling. We know all this. Like he seemed like he wasn't working with them in a one-to-one fashion. So I don't know. There's definitely some puzzle pieces missing to that theory, but there is potentially something to that, because you're right. It is kind of odd that with how much of a time crunch is on this scenario and how much fun he's having with OB just geeking out about looms and time devices, that I don't know. Was he just that curious about the tech of this hot chocolate machine, or was there something else going on there? And the fact that he just gave the hot chocolate to the other guy, and he had a weird look on his face, like there's definitely something more going on.
I thought he made pruning chocolate or something like that.
Oh my god!
And like,
what would that taste like? Oh my god.
Ass.
Yeah,
not good. Yeah, and it's because like, why is he? Because you could chalk it up to, okay, he wants to see that just because he's from the past, right? So it's just like all these new things are crazy, like all this, but it's just like, it's just a drink. Wouldn't he be more enamored with the tech of the TVA? And why did he also give it to this TVA guy who I'm sure has had hot chocolate or coffee, whatever it is, many times, right? Like, why? Like, you want to try? It's not like he was another guy from the past as well. So I don't know. It's tricky. Lots riding on next week with these answers we get. So
Yeah, last episode was all about giving us a bunch of answers. This one is about giving us a bunch of questions. So I guess
Yeah.
that kind of works, the ebb and flow of a TV show like this.
yeah. So yeah, we mentioned it briefly, but as of right now, if things stay the same, we lost Miss Minute. She's gone. She's back. Well, she's not gone. She's back to her, like, I guess V1 form where she's not that
Yeah.
intelligent. Like she's a AI from early on. So I don't think we're done with her because I'm sure she could rebuild herself. But yeah, R.I.P. Miss Minutes. You know.
Yeah, I don't think she can rebuild. Like, I guess Kang,
True.
a variant, could build another version of her. I don't know if Timely would want to after he was kind of
Yeah.
creeped out when she was, doing something undue to
Yeah.
him. So I
No
don't know.
bodies for her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna get something like that, but I don't know. I felt like if any of the deaths in this episode were to be permanent, that would be the one that I think works. The Miss Minutes one.
Yeah.
Because you even have the X's in the eyes. That's a sure sign. She's
Yeah.
goner after that one.
Yeah, Mr. Game and Watch taught us that, in Mario.
Does he have X's in the eyes?
He must. He must. At some point, I guarantee there's an X in his eye. But, oh yeah, let's take an ad break, then we'll be right back. And we're back. So I just want to touch upon, because I'll forget about it, because I'm with Dylan where the part they could reset is those prisoners, because then they go, oh, we know their true intentions. I think just overall, I didn't really need any of this. I don't mind. Like, I like seeing the characters being brutal. Like, okay, Renslayer is serious. She's like, you're with me, you're against me. I like the kill. That's all good. I just don't buy. We get the main captain's speech of just like, because Renslayer's like, oh, you're not seeing the big picture. And it's like, for the first time, I really am. So like, I get it. They're trying to say that they believe in Loki and Mobius's and Sylvie's journey, but it's just, there's not enough time for us to care about these characters, or nor that you showed that, because the last time we saw them, just 2 episodes ago, they're ready to prune and kill all these timelines, right? So it's, I don't think that's needed unless Dylan's like you said, that could
that's
be
where
a
I'm like,
thing.
there's no way that can be just the end of those characters.
Yeah.
Or if so, it's like, what a waste of time that was.
But it could be, because we've seen that happen with the MCU shows, right? Where they try to go for this emotional thing, and like these characters have learned, but we're like, you only got 6 episodes. This does not feel warranted. So
Rip
I
Maria
like,
Hill.
yeah, best career of the character yet. So I liked aspects of the scenes. Like, I think I liked ideas of it, but I just didn't need. I just didn't buy it. Very poorly written. So
Yeah. I only have a couple more things. One, this kind of bothered me. I just felt like last week we had all collectively decided that Ravonna and Miss Minutes were like imprisoned in the end of time, and that would be a part of the narrative. But they can just leave at any point, and there's a couple things that bothered me here. One is that why would our main crew let this happen? Like, I don't know if, I guess they still had like a temp pad or something like that. But I guess no matter what, I don't like it. I don't like that our characters were that dumb to leave these incredibly powerful characters, Miss Minutes, who can just shut down the entire TVA in an instant with the snap of her, imaginary fingers. So I didn't like that ended up just being not a prison whatsoever, and they just kicked them there. I don't really know. I guess so Ravonna could see Kang's body.
well, I don't think Sylvie knew because I think Miss Minutes helps her gets back. I don't think she knew that she had Miss Minutes at her disposal. I think Sylvie's intention was to leave Ravonna there, but then Miss Minutes was there, because I can't remember where Miss Minutes was. She just kind of disappeared last episode. So
Yeah, I mean,
it
I
was
guess
locked in the temp pad, right? That's when like Victor was like, "Get in there."
Yeah, Victor put her in there. And
Okay, I forgot about that,
I
but-
can't remember if Ravonna. Yeah, because remember she was, she put her face on the mannequin, and he was like, "Oh fuck," and then he like locked her up in there. So I can't remember if Miss Minutes then popped up again in that episode at some point. So yeah,
I don't
maybe you're
think so
right.
in
Maybe
the
no one
end,
else
yeah.
knew. So yeah, I guess that works. But I maybe would have preferred if there was some cunning solution from that. I think that'd be better too if you're setting these characters up the villain. If they had to do some interesting or smart thing to get out of there. But I guess Miss Minutes, I still don't really understand how. Like, I don't know. I guess either way, it would have to be a temp pad that let them out. And they're just like, I guess we're not going to check Ravonna for a temp pad. We'll just
Yeah,
assume
that's
she doesn't
fair.
have one. And I don't
Big
know, like that
mistake.
scene, I guess maybe there's a bit of an emotional element where Ravonna, you want to have her see the dead Kang there. But that scene of Kang wiping her memory, like that doesn't need to happen there. That could happen anywhere at any point. And I guess the timing made sense for Miss Minutes to reveal that information after Victor had rejected her, we'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that doesn't need to happen at that location.
It's so funny. Like I will say, I agree with all your points there. By the way, it's very like loosey goosey type of. I can buy the characters, but same thing is okay. Why doesn't Sylvie make sure she doesn't have a temp pad or anything, right? And who knows how Miss Minutes work? I feel like Miss Minutes has like a bunch of plot armor of just well she can do this and that. So maybe her
Yeah.
being gone is a good thing. But I will say that I truthfully did not think that the secret was going to be that it was the reveal that he wiped her mind. I guess I didn't think of that just because I just thought that would be so inconsequential to the story, which I feel like it kind of. Like so, because we talk about this, is it going to be that they're married? Is it going to be that she's a variant, or they're teaming up? And we had like all Dylan has some theories. Like we all these theories. So the idea is he wiped her mind. Like she's still doing the same thing of like she wants to just take over and get the TVA running again, right? That's what she wants to do.
Yes.
So is the only difference to her story is she wants to do that, but she just doesn't like Kang anymore. That's what I assume, right? She wouldn't trust Kang or he who remains. It's just like it feels like it's such a minor reveal to last week end on this big secret to like, yeah, he wiped your mind. It's like, well, she could have learned then like if she would have spent like 10 more minutes with Mobius, she would have learned that. I just felt like it didn't warrant what they set up last week to me.
Yeah, I guess she felt like she couldn't properly run the TVA, become the leader without him. But now that she knows he's dead, and she realizes that, oh, I could have done this all along, or I guess I already know how to do this, and now the one obstacle in my way is gone, even though she didn't do it herself. So I guess that's what's going on there. But yeah, I guess the more and more we get of this season, I'm really curious like what the goal is with Ravonna as a character and what they're trying to achieve, because she still feels like a very minor character, and I just like it's not like we're gonna get the Ravonna show next year or something.
No.
So I don't know what the purpose of her is really.
That's
She's
why
not even that compelling of a villain.
No.
If that's her role.
They need more time for that if they wanted to get there, but that's why you joined the GV Discord. Literally, as we were talking about this, Kyle and the Loki spoiler chat, when God, that big secret was so disappointing. Like literally, this second right now we're talking about. So it's just so funny. And then they also revealed that she was like a leader in the multiverse war, but that doesn't mean anything to us. Like we're getting our multiverse war and secret wars, right? So it's like this. It's cool, like the great fact, but just like good for her. But
yeah. It's a good fact for the trivia battle on the 24-hour stream.
Yeah.
Who led the army of Kangs?
Taylor, any thoughts on the big secret, Renslayer? Anything we've talked about here?
I love the Order 66 moment when he's like, yeah, execute Protocol 33 or whatever it was, like execute Order 66. It was so good. I was eating all that up.
Would your mind have blown if Palpatine walked out and they didn't explain that at all? Just Palpatine walked out?
Yeah, like, hey, Ian, there he is. This would have been the crossover.
Taylor's reaction was very, hey, Ian, there he is.
Hey, Ian, there he is.
Yeah, not even Palpatine. Ian!
Indy.
Jones.
I don't have anything negative surrounding it. I was just kind of bewildered and just like watching it like, oh, you know what? This would make me fucking pissed, and this does make me understand why she would want to hate.
If Madison just wiped all your mind?
Yeah, I'd miss out on a whole bunch of important shit. It'd be pretty shitty. But I'd be like, oh, I was actually like a commander and won the multiversal war and all that, and I forgot. Like, come on, Madison, why are you doing that to me? But I think though that everything that I've kind of wondered why they did not remember and what was the reason for it. I still don't understand, but at least I know how it happened now and how he just had this.
Do you mean you don't know why they wiped their minds?
I don't necessarily know why Kang decided to wipe their mind and have like the Wizard of Oz kind of set up and just let it.
I have two reasons. One, the Wizard of Oz just to make you feel like there's like a greater god out there, like it's something very scary, unattainable, like that they all knowing. And two, so they didn't know their variants. Remember, they did like Mobius didn't know he was, so they would just stick to the. So they think
they knew they were variants under Kang's rule.
No, they didn't. That's why Kang wiped their mind, because they just thought they were people that were chosen to be in the TVA, like their own.
But that's
lives,
what they thought beforehand, right? Or are you saying before?
No, because remember,
wiped their mind, they knew they were variants.
Yes, exactly. They knew they were variants, or just knew their lives. So that's why, like, remember how we meet Loki is they pick up Loki to prune him because he's a variant. None of them think that, but that's the whole thing with Mobius. Hunter 15, whatever her name is, like now they've all learned that they had lives and they were stolen from them. They weren't that. Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't pick that up. That was post or sorry, I didn't think that was the result of Kang wiping their minds. I
Yes,
thought
that
that they
was.
never remembered their memory ever since they joined the TVA. They never
Well,
remembered their
that's
old
true,
lives.
but it was Kang that did that since they joined the. And even then, some of them didn't have the choice to join the TVA. Some of them were just stolen. I have no example.
But then I don't understand though then because like if some of them were stolen and some of them all remember their lives, they were still working for Kang and then Kang executed the protocol.
So they win the multiverse war, right? And Kang and He Who Remains has this idea that to avoid this from happening, there has to be one timeline now. But in order to do that, to have workers, people, I'm gonna have to bring these people aboard. And maybe Renslayer, maybe she would have said, no, I'm not for that. But if you wipe her mind, she has no choice in the matter. It just gets programmed that, hey, you are now a TVA agent working for whatever they called the gods. What were the gods in season one?
But what I'm saying is though we got to see the TVA exist with Kang as its ruler. We got to see the statues with him and everything, and the people working there. Remember when Loki went in the past and Mobius was there, and we see the statues of Kang. So they were all cognitively aware that they worked for Kang at one point.
Yeah, but I think you're okay. Yeah, you're definitely right there, and I think maybe that's why they created what were the people called those tree, the unholy or whatever,
the four god thing.
Yeah. So maybe he just decided that at some point he needed to be protected, or it wasn't working with him as the face, so that's why he needed these like more almighty beings. Maybe people just saw a man and were like, well, we can revolt against this guy. Where if you literally were to tell us, hey, my boss is God, it's like, well, I can't go against God. Like he or she is so powerful, or they so powerful. It's like, what am I supposed to do, right? So I think there's definitely some stuff of the origins that you're correct on as far as Kang being there, but the whole point of mind wiping, they probably got mind wiped like several times, these people,
That was the first 32 protocols, just all mind wipes.
Probably there could be 33, 34.
I'm with you to some extent, Taylor. I feel like it would make sense to me that people, when they were initially brought in to TVA, would have their mind wiped to some extent. So it's like, well, yeah, what is the second mind wiping? I understand where it lies for Ravonna, but yeah, I guess I'm a little fuzzy on that too. I don't think we'll get the answer to that either. I think we're just gonna have to. I don't know. And Travis has a theory for sure. But
well, and remember in episode 1 we had talked about there was something where it showed that Mobius had been wiped multiple times, remember, because he had met Obi and Obi remembered it, but Owen Wilson didn't remember that. So they have shown that they've been wiped multiple times. I feel like anytime these characters start to pick up on something's wrong, they get reset over. It's very similar. There's a storyline on The Boys, Dylan, that's like almost identical to this now that we're talking about. But I think it's that anytime they got close, Kang or whoever would reset them. What the fuck are their names? Oh my god, the Wonder Beans or whatever.
The Wonder Beans, that's what it is, I think.
The Wonder Beans.
Darbean and the Wonder Beans.
Yeah. It's like the Almighty Ones or something, or the...
Yeah,
I'll try to look after. It's just bugging me. But, yeah, I said non-spoilers. Really liked, Dylan talked about this too. Like, I really like Sylvia Mobius, that conversation, again, edging him more that way. But I liked it was just more the idea of the pie thing, and again, the two dichotomies where Loki will sit there and eat pie with Mobius, and Sylvie's just like, you idiot, like people are dying, you're trusting those three. And there's a point where Loki's trying to say, like, there's nothing more we can do right now, like we're just waiting. But from her point of view, she can't just sit there and just eat pie and just kind of chill, right? So I liked that dynamic because we didn't really see Mobius and Sylvie interact too much last year. I think we got in one episode when they were all pruned together, but I did really enjoy that. I think Owen Wilson had like a really good scene of no dialogue, but just his face acting to react to what Sylvie was saying. I thought that was like knocking out of the park. So I think we're gonna get it. I still wonder if they hold off and we don't get it this season because there is only 2 episodes left. Maybe it's a post credit of just Owen Wilson on a jet ski. I still think there's a chance they say that for Secret Wars or something too. Like there could just be something there because I don't know if Owen Wilson is in Deadpool 3, and that's been a rumor. It's like I don't think he'd go back to his timeline unless maybe that's where his timeline is. I don't know, but
I feel like that. I feel like Mobius maybe they go to his world and they see, maybe he just sees like a glimpse of his life, and because there's not a whole lot of minutes left in this season before it's over. So it's like, how do we go in depth on that? And I don't think you will, just because there's so much plot to unravel, and this show's called Loki, not Loki and Mobius like Ant-Man and the Wasp got for the sequel.
Season 3.
So yeah, I feel like maybe you could get just a glimpse where he goes and sees a little bit of it, and he decides he's seen enough and he is happy with his new life. And then I don't know. I feel like jet ski could be like the joke post credit scene. Although I
Yeah.
guess the shows don't follow the same structure of post credit as the movies typically do, with one like serious tease one and then one jokey one. But they could do that for something here.
What if they go to his universe and he's just like the Thanos? He's like just a murderer of everybody. He's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's get out of here. Like,
Has the
let's-
stones.
yeah, Moby, look at the stones. Yeah, that would be something. And then the other one, really like Sylvie and Loki's conversation. Again, their dichotomy is split. I'm very curious to see like if they're ever going to get these two back on the same track, just even friendship wise, not even relationship wise. It's a show, so I'm sure they could just kiss one episode and they're back together. But it just feels like they're so far apart. I can't see that happening right now. But I
agree.
do like this idea of, okay, so what happens if this works? Well, we put Timely back, and then she goes, well, is it safe to have Timely out there? And Loki goes, well, we'll keep an eye on him. And then she's like, well, then what's the point of free will? And then Loki's like, well, you can't give someone free will and just walk away. You got to survey it. And then she's like, well, that makes us gods. Like, well, we are gods. So it's like, I thought it was a well thought out conversation between the two of them, because I feel like that's the same conversation we have a bunch of times, more like probably in bread and butter stuff, but same thing of like, everyday people have a conversation about if a god is real or not, and like, okay, if God's real, why does he let X, A, and B, C happen, right? Why does a tsunami happen if there's a god that could just stop it, right? But then there's Loki, where it's like, well, he would watch over things and he wouldn't get in the way of stuff unless Timely was in danger. It's like, well, what if he's supposed to, like, that's not free will, because if someone's going to kill Timely and we're just stopping that, and it's like the TVA all over again, right? Loki escaped from Avengers Tower and Avengers. Who's to say? Like, Sylvie's pitch is like, why can't you just go and live your life now? Why are you just gonna get? So I think Chris Bogg, I can't remember if he had this theory for this season or next season, and I am subscribed to it. I don't know if it'll be the same thing, but I see there's some future of Loki becoming like the new He Who Remains, or just the runner of the TVA, whatever it is. Like, I think he is gonna take a god-like care, like he's going to be the overlooker of a lot of stuff, and I feel like that's how maybe we meet back up with him in Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty, as he's one of the know-alls, and I think that'd be almost a fun reveal if you did He Who Remains again, and it's Thor and some people, and you get there and it's Loki, and he is like, imagine that, like he sees his brother there, and we don't know, that Loki could have been there for decades. Like, I think they're hinting at something with Loki, and it feels like he's gonna almost make a sacrifice for the greater good. And I don't know, maybe because he also said He Remains had points, right? He said multiple times that he thought it could have been better. So they're doing something with Loki. I don't know what, but there's something happening, I think, on a bigger scale with him.
So that's just the ultimate like foreshadow, is the season 1 finale of just Loki supposed to be in that position. Where
Could
Kang was
be,
kind of
right?
leading to.
Yeah, it could be, or even just season 1 in general. Remember, at one point he wanted just the TVA for the power. He said that was the most ultimate power in the universe, and it'd kind of be fun if he got it, but not wanting it because he had to take it on as a burden, right? I think that's a good character growth too. Of he wanted this thing to rule the universe, but now it's like, this is your curse, pretty much. You're stuck here now to watch the universe.
That would be interesting, but at the same time, I feel like this Loki has truly ascended beyond all the other Lokis from every other timeline. This is the one Loki,
Yeah. So
aside
he
from
becomes
Sylvie,
most
who's
powerful,
gotten well, true, but I feel like Glorious Purpose isn't really his MO anymore, and I say that because you see in this episode him just at the forefront, like he cares about these TVA members. He believes, he's trusting his life to Obi and to Mobius and them, and he's also like the first one in, like, hey, I'm gonna go go face this time variance and just go out there and like put this thing into the loon, the weave, the fucking thing that Timely built. And then we also have him just like when the explosion's happening, he's got tears on his eyes. Like, I just feel like he's just been humbled, and he's.
But I don't think
his
his glorious purpose, like he's gonna go for power. I just mean like he's gonna. To your point, he's gonna have to take it on so no one else has to.
What if,
like,
What if, in that same vein of thought, what if Timely knows that this is going to happen, and that's why he takes the position to run into the suicide himself in that Bloom explosion thing, knowing that Loki is going to be the one, like he wants to keep Loki alive, this Loki in particular, so that he can go on and lead and be the
so
better.
He kills
He remains.
himself so he knows that Loki will stay alive.
Yeah,
so that makes
he
the
takes
people in
posi-
that scene
well,
alive. Then
specifically, he just goes, in
But maybe
place
those
of
people
what-
need him, right? Maybe all Mobius and Sylvie die, but they gotta, like, Boromir and Gandalf, die along the way to get Frodo to the journey. Maybe Sylvie and Mobius have some more sacrifice, like Iron Man, right? Iron Man couldn't die until he got the one, and that was like, okay, you gotta go. So maybe Sylvie and Mobius are gonna be getting the one at one point, from Victor Timely. He's gonna force ghost. So yeah.
A lot of interesting theories going on here. But yeah, no, I like all that discussion you guys had about Loki. And I think that was a good conversation as well. And I think it's interesting because I do feel like at some point this Loki or a Loki would have, the same mindset and outlook as Sylvie did in that moment. And that's where it's like, okay, they're just on a different point in their character development, even though they have that same maybe end point. They're going to get to the same place eventually because they're the same person to some extent. So I like that idea of they have these differing opinions, but it almost feels like eventually hers will line up with his. And yeah, I mean, that mic drop line at the very end where, well, we are gods. And then he just fucking leaves the room.
And it's like, oh shit.
And
it's like,
of course, like it's really well done too. Like the camera at that point's really low, so you're looking up at them, so they seem huge, and it's kind of dark and ominous. He walks through, and then she walks through after him. So just really, really well done scene.
and even on that God's perspective, you have to remember that Sylvie's never really sure she's a god, but she hasn't had that. She didn't get to sit in those throne rooms. She didn't get to listen to those stories of Odin. Like she was taken as like a child, and then she was on the run ever since, right? So like I know she probably thinks she's a god, but at the same point, she never got to live that lifestyle where people bowed down to you and treated you like royalty, where Loki has. And I liked that referring back to the first Thor movie of, and he saw his brother as a changed person from being a god to accepting some human ways. He kind of thought he was pathetic, and that's some good character like tying together. So I like all that, and that's where it's like no matter what happens next week, even if they do the reset, which I could be disappointed of, I just feel like this show is giving us so much more positively, even if it's just theories to talk about, like versus like what we just got with Secret Invasion, like just stuff where we go, oh, what's happening, or why are we doing this, like, and hopefully, who knows, we could get to the finale and then go, okay, these really interesting things we talked about really didn't go anywhere or really rushed. Like look at the big secret with Renslayer, right? To me, that was a big nothing burger. That's something that when you watch that again in the future, and like Miss Smith's like, oh, I got a big secret to tell you. He's like, okay, you told her the secret that we learned at the end of season 1. It's like that's not a big thing for us. It's tough in that situation, right? Where it's like we already know this. I know Renslayer doesn't, but so maybe these theories and these questions we have will be very lackluster when we get to them. But I hope not.
Hopefully.
Can't say next week's not gonna be interesting, at least as far as like getting to it in those first 5 minutes. So. Anything else?
One more scene I just want to shout out. When X5 was going to the hallway and Renslayer kind of dispatches him to go out and figure out the situation after Miss Minutes is gone, and it's dark, and he pulls out his pruning staff and does like a cool spin with it and sees Loki down at the dark tunnel, and Loki's
dimly lit tunnel, actually
dimly lit underground TVA tunnel. Loki's just like, are you ready for round 2? And he does the spin. I'm like, fuck, this is so cool. And then Sylvie comes out and does head magic on him. Oh, that was so cool. I fucking loved it. That was so
you think
juicy.
X5's gonna put up some big fight or something like that?
He was ready to go. He felt like he was ready to tangle with a Loki variant. So I was feeling it. That was great. But I still loved how Sylvie basically just mind warped him. And too, when Obi was on the phone, just like, oh, we do this, and then it'll take away the magic inhibitors and stuff like that. And both Sylvie and Loki are like, do it. We can be a much more of a helpful component here if you deactivate that. So, good stuff.
Well, good on him for trying to take the fight to him. So. Well, we will be back next week to break down the penultimate episode. Looks like it'll be a juicy one. Hopefully, really hope it's a positive one and we can have a good time talking about this one and stuff. We'll get to hear Kirkland's thoughts. He's somewhere fevering away, but we'll get to hear his thoughts next week. And I promise you, it'll not be boring.
See ya.
Bye-bye.